So I didn't think I was going to do this again, but here I am. Okay. So I'm going to wait till other people come. I'm going to share the live. Hang on for a quick second. Let me see if I got people who might want to join. Let me see. And let's see. So just sharing the live. Again, I wasn't thinking I'd come on. I thought I was going to go to bed, but no. I started reading the first forward. I've read through this book here and there, and so now I'm making a commitment to read through the whole aspect of it. I also typically buy books in hardback, print, and Audible typically. But this is called Chakra Mantras, Liberate Your Spiritual Genius Through Chanting. I'm really on a kick to really push the message about chanting, because I don't think people understand that though it is benign, it is like water dripping on like a salt block, a Himalayan salt block, right? So visualize how a drop of water over time would dissolve the salt block to nothing. So this is introduction. Chakra Mantras, Thomas Ashley Ferran. Let me begin. As we begin this journey, the most important initial idea I can express is that you are immortal. There was never a time you were not. There is never a time you will not be. Your immortal essence is referred to by many names: the soul, the self, Atma, Jiva, or lower Purusha. These are but a few of the various names that refer to your personal inner divine flame of truth, that which you are, that which is imperishable. It is a part of you that is not actively involved in any of your worldly conditions, yet it watches and in some hard to describe way learns. But even as that flame is your true self, listen to this part. This is what I've been trying to explain to you guys in the various discussions. But even as that flame is your true self, there's another part of us that lives in this world that I call the ego mind personality. It is not immortal. It experiences all of the pains and joy of life and then dissolves in its current form and expression at the time of death. This day-to-day part of us also comes and goes from life to life, and in an essence of what we have learned and attained in any one life goes forward from one life on to the next. This is what they call samskaras. Samskaras are impressions of your past egoic mind personality. Samskaras. So every time we choose a new suit with the ego mind personality, right, we have the opportunity to see our habits and behaviors from a different set of eyes, through a different lens. Okay? The ego mind personality can choose to evolve to a new higher state of consciousness and being. It can become immortal if it chooses to embark upon a program of spiritual discipline that systematically leads to immortality. Through discipline, it could evolve and grow until it eventually merges with the Atman and becomes immortal. So when you do like soul retrieval guided meditations for yourself to retrieve lost parts of yourselves on battlefields, on funeral pyres and things of that nature, you're actually retrieving petals of yourself, fragments, fractal selves back to you. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If we look closely at what we know about various religions through our human history, it would seem that the decision for the ego-mind personality to become immortal is a choice we will all make sooner or later. But as of yet, there is no definite proof that this is so. We as a human family certainly have not yet gotten to that point en masse. But still, the major religions are trying to convey something important to us. And throughout history, the great spiritual figures have deemed that pursuit of this of the highest importance. The religions and spiritual teachers speak with one voice about our divine destiny, about immortality, about living a spiritual life, and about spiritual rewards. The details vary, but the essential message is the same. We are much more than we know. And if and if we will be, but undertake the journey to achieve it. To describe our common journey, it is helpful to use the map of powers, abilities, and potentials embodied in stories about some of the great celestials that are told in various Hindu scriptures, principally in the Puranas. The marvelous abilities of the characters in these stories, both good and evil, ones alike, can be likened to a periodic table of divine abilities and characteristics we will encounter as we progress. The archetypes, Carl Jung talks about the archetypes. And so many of us embody archetypal qualities. And so we have to determine which archetypal qualities, we want to embody for good, or some are toxic and some are not. These stories can help define both the journey and what we may find along the way. I will begin here by sketching out the general themes found in the rest of this work and some basic concepts that serve as the foundational ideas for the chapters that follow. According to the Vedas and the Puranas, in the beginning at the supra-cosmic level, there was only a transcendent unity. There was one being of which we were a part of. Then, in a truly enigmatic decision, that being decided to diversify itself. The idea of many individual parts was conceived, and individual souls sprang from that transcendental being. From that being we have come. Ultimately, it is to that being in its reality to which we will return. Good question, Arya. The first step after the decision of that being to become many was the establishment of each of us as individual beings. Even then, we were still in unity with that cosmic truth. We had only the thinnest of veils separating us from complete absorption into that being. We have commenced the journey for reasons known only to our soul and that great being. When we have finished the first phase of that journey started long, long ago, we will reach the place of great decision discussed near the end of this book. No matter what our decision at that point, we will have evolved back into conscious contact with the state of being from which we have come. We will have traveled off through the chakras, adding to our experience and knowledge. Almost everyone who is even a nodding acquaintance with Eastern spirituality has heard of the word chakra. As energy processes centers in the subtle body located along the spine, they are traditionally taught as 6 in numbers, with 7th at the top of the head. Now, you all know that we've been upgraded to 9, right? In addition to these 7 chakras, there are other esoteric chakras that are sometimes taught to advanced students. There are mantras and seed sounds that activate these esoteric chakras, and some of them contain keys to our spiritual progress. The seed sound, Reem, for instance, is taught in both Hinduism and Tibetan Buddhism as the seed sound for the Rit Padma, the sacred heart, which is described in the Narayana Suktam as an 8-petal lotus, 2 fingers width below the Anahata chakra. This chakra is described as that place in which the self, the soul, resides. The seat of the soul is in the Anahata, the heart chakra. In Tibetan Buddhism, one mantra initiation into advanced spiritual practices involves the Kala chakra, or wheel of time. This esoteric chakra, called the Lalani chakra in Hinduism, is sometimes located just above the Vishuddha, or throat chakra. But in another system, it is located in a different place in the head, above the Ajna chakra, also called the third eye. In fact, there are a handful of different chakra systems that are defined and placed in different parts of our spiritual anatomy. Here, I will use the most common system of chakra definition and placements, while incorporating aspects of other systems I have been taught and which I have tested since 1973. My teacher, Sadhguru Sant Keshavadas, taught that every organ and gland has a chakra of its own to help it process the energy that helps it function properly. The great Swami Sivananda noted that some yogic texts speak of 144 chakras in the body, and the comprehensive chakra manual Leela Yoga by Shim Sundar Goswami minutely describes many overlapping chakra systems, and some esoteric schools allocate over 200 different chakras in the body. Sundar goes into detail as to make the information nearly impossible to take in, especially for the average yoga student. And even then, for some advanced practitioners, that gives you some indication of the intricacy of this system of spiritual anatomy. Other chakras in both Tibetan and Hindu systems are even less available to students in the West. You may ask me, as many of you drop, what does that have to do with my twin flame? What does that have to do with my ascension? Fucking everything. And for those of you who have the patience to sit and listen to these very esoteric ideas, bravo. Bravo. Because people, there's a lot of things to be impatient about. Like, I won't stand in line for a movie, a restaurant, or anything. But I sure in the hell I'll stay patient to learn how to ascend so that me and my twin can graduate from twin flame to twin ray. And this is the path. And I'm glad that now we're down to 6. And if we continue, we'll be down to 3. What matters is the quality of what's been written by this incredible man who passed away and who studied these incredible wisdoms that have been around for over 7,000 years. Before every religion that you and I know existed, there was this. This is the path to the ascension. This is the pathway to union with your beloved. Mark my word. So patience now is important. Not for a movie, not to stand in line for the supermarket, for this. This is important. Other chakras in both Tibetan and Hindu systems are even less available to students in the West. The Soma chakra in the forehead, the Manas chakra in the back of the head, and other chakras scattered in various places in the body have energy processes, abilities that are activated by mantras. Some of these mantras are given to everyone, while others are usually given only to select students. Thank you, Becca. All of which is to say that in examining the path that presents itself to the willing seeker, we must examine both traditional and very more secret chakras. In our spiritual journey, we will likely encounter conditions or obstacles that challenge us. We will be burning karma, and it can experience all kinds of psychological, physical, and spiritual discomforts in the process. There are various spiritual practices to help us with these challenges. Hinduism has discovered the science of mantra to help invoke various spiritual energies that help dissolve difficulties. Mantras can also act as a buffer to minimize painful karmic burn-off. Wow. These mantras resonate within the chakras, the major energy processing centers located along the spine in the subtle body. Throughout this book, I'll take you through not only the ways mantras can help you on your spiritual journey, I'll also provide you with the Sanskrit chants and the recommended number of recitations to provide support on the spiritual path. I understand if someone who is 21 or 25 or even 35 that is impatient to hear this. But to be honest, those kids that I'm actually listening to, many of them, are phenomenal, and they actually study this. These are the starseed incarnated. When I was 25, to be blunt, I would have been interested in hearing somebody speak of it, but probably not reading it myself. I'm not sure. I know I was reading a lot of pretty esoteric books, but this is heavy. So let me read you what he says on the following, because this is the foreword, okay? My 7 intentions for this book. To present for your consideration a simple explanation of the system of chakras that exists in all of us. The system I present will be drawn from several of the dozens of systems that exist in the ancient texts from India. All of the research has been done by others, most of whom are great spiritual scholars as well as advanced practitioners. There is only one item in the discussion of the chakras that it's original with me. It is my discussion of the function of the dramatic mythic character called Ganesha and his chakra. Very great minds and spiritual practitioners have provided all of the rest of this information. He was an amazing scholar of Sanskrit, and he understood the vibrational power of mantras. And so when somebody tells you to do a round, it means do a round. That means you chant the mantra in its completeness, and you use a japa mala bead to keep count. And a round is 108 beads, 108 times. And that's one round. It's considered a round. To outline a general path of spiritual development that encompasses efforts conducted during more than one lifetime, the purpose of this spiritual development is to discover and therefore become consciously more of what you are and always have been. To present energy invoking tools called mantras that, when used, enable you to accumulate more and more energy, leading to various changes of state in your organism or that which you inhabit, your bodies, both physical and subtle. To provide a description of, in a simple language as I am able, the journey to and place of great decision where we reach a fundamental evolutionary point of choice. From that decision, two great and divergent paths are presented to us all. When you meditate, when you chant your monkey mind into submission, you will get downloads where you will have a divergent of path. A decision will have to be made. And the decision will be based on a new path, uncharted, based on you doing this kind of work every day, right? As opposed to the habits from this life and past lives of indoctrinated dogmatic ideas. Diverging it. To list some of the superhuman abilities that come eventually to all. The great healers among us have unlocked some of these abilities, and many of them have dedicated themselves to helping us. As part of the process, I will introduce you to several healers and their spiritual opening. To offer several of the great healing mantras from India. To convey stories from the great tales and epics of India that teach us something important or useful about our journey, and they are fun. Spiritually, does not have to be long-faced and serious all the time. Personally, I think the great ones told funny stories to their disciple. I pray that God attends you every need on your magnificent journey. Thomas Ashley Ferron, Namedava, March 2006. Thank you. Great question. What is the name of the book? Great question. It's called Chakra Mantras by Thomas Ashley Ferron. Chakra Mantras, just put book Thomas and it should come up. Chakra Mantras. So Cosmic Concepts, Part 1. Shall we continue or would you like an oracle card? Because there aren't a lot of people on this live. But it's quality. And I'm glad you're here. But let me know if you want to continue. Do you want to continue? Because this man, I think I own every book he has. Continue. Okay. Background, Chapter 1. To ensure that we have some common understanding, I will need to provide and explain some foundational ideas and terms. If you are familiar with these ideas, you may want to proceed directly to the next chapter. I did some oracle readings, Love Ascending. You can look on my YouTube channel. I did it this morning, and I did 2 lives. Vibration. Let me start. When the sun shines upon us, we feel its warmth. We feel the vibration of heat upon our skin. Whether one regards the energy of the sun as a particle or a wave, in either case, a vibrational effect is felt. It is the vibration of light reflecting from objects that allow us to see. When we hear music, the same phenomenon is in play. We hear because of vibrations that we capture in the tiny chambered nautilus in our inner ear. It is composed of little hairs that vibrate when sound reaches them. You see how both sight and sound perceptions in our physical bodies are directly tied to vibrations. Do you know something that really blows my mind? I'm going to stop here. Did you hear vibrations, frequency? When people have batteries, you know those fire batteries, those fire alarms that people don't change their battery and you hear the beep, beep, and people will let that go on for months. This is not good for your nervous system. You've got to be hyper aware of the frequencies and vibrations you allow in your house. Eastern spiritual texts speak about subtle bodies that interpret our physical body. Different schools and paths of spiritual study call the subtle body by different names, but mystics in those schools use the same language to discuss what goes on in that body. They all use the term chakra to describe energy processing centers located along the shushuna, or spine, in the subtle body. The Shumhuma, I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing, I'm kind of tired. From the base of the spine to the place at the top of the neck where the spine meets the head. On this path are the major chakras. It is in these chakra centers that energy is processed and distributed to both the subtle and the physical body. But what kind of energy are we speaking about? There are well-known types of energy that we have devised instruments to measure: infrared, radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, and many other kinds of radiant energy. Although they cannot be perceived by the sense, they exist nonetheless. Over the last 100 years or so, we've grown increasingly adept at seeing these energy currents, measuring them, and even harnessing them for our use. The ancients have long discussed kinds of energies that exist and that we can process, but for which we have not as of yet devised any means of perceptions or measurements. There are skeptics who decry discussion and education about these hidden kinds of energies. They reason that if we cannot measure them, then they must not exist. Yet these same people think nothing of putting on suntan lotion to protect them from the burning rays of the sun that once we could not measure, but now easily measure and employ means to lessen. This is what I mean by you can't trust 3D logic. He just illustrated that. Because 3D logic shifts with new knowledge and shifts with the mores of new times, new societal agreements, the collective agreements on what is now acceptable. So 3D logic 150 years ago, we find to be absurd today. Does that make sense? It is hard to deduce that since we only recently discovered, he puts that in quotation marks, a vast array of energies that we now use, that there might still be a vast pool of energy kinds and types that we have not yet learned to measure. Chakras. Most of us are familiar with the major nerve ganglia located along the spine in our physical body. For example, we know that the solar plexus is located in the abdomen, just below the stomach. For men, this is where the belly grows. In the subtle body, a powerful energy processing chakra called the Manipura chakra is located here. Each chakra will be discussed in detail later. For now, please note that there are similar energy processing centers in the subtle body located in the areas of our sex glands, in the anus, the thymus, the heart, the throat, and between the eyebrows at the third eye in the physical body. In all, there are 6 major chakras, or energy processing centers, located along the shuhuma in the subtle body, with a 7th at the top of the head corresponding to the brain in the physical body. Let me pause here. We have been upgraded. We have the Hara chakra at the belly button, and we have the high heart at the breastbone. We have 9 chakras. So when he wrote this in 2006, some of us were already upgraded to 9, some of us were not. Everyone's now upgraded to 9. All right. Anyway, each chakra looks like a flower or wheel with petals or spokes that detail its composition. In fact, the very word chakra means wheel in Sanskrit. Each chakra has a different number of spokes or petals. All you need to know about chakras for now is that they process energy that flows into them. Do you see why you have to clear them every day? Now, I don't object you going to see a Reiki master to clear stuff you can't. But if you vacuum your house every day and you hire a maid once a month to do massive cleaning, doesn't that make sense to do the same with your chakras? Shouldn't you work on your chakras every day? All right, let's continue. By processing the energy, they make it available for our use. That use can be simply to improve health or to empower special abilities that will appear over time. Now, when you're working on your chakras and you're doing certain mudras, there are mudras for health, for losing weight, for calming the nervous system, for downloading through the crown chakra downloads, like psychic downloads. In other words, there are mudras, mantras for everything, and you can plug into your chakras to augment the power. You can actually to even augment it even further by doing it near a huge body of water, the ocean, a lake, a river, a stream, your bathtub. I'm not kidding. Okay, sound. In the Gospel of John, it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Talk about a powerful statement summarizing the power of sound. In Genesis, we find, "And God said that let there be light." Notice the phrase does not say something like, "And God made light to shine." No, God produced light by saying something, by using the power of sound that only God could command. The clear conclusion is that light was not the original or the highest. It was sound. From sound came light. According to Genesis, since light comes from sound, sound is actually higher on the spiritual scale than light. Om. This is why there are several classifications of sound in the Eastern scriptures. Each has a different kind of potency. The chanting of mantras is called japa in Sanskrit. In Gayatri, the highest meditation, Sadguru Sant Keshavandas refer to the Agni Purana as defining the word japa thusly: the syllable ja destroys the birth and death cycle, and the cycle pa destroys all sins. Thus, that which destroys all sins and puts an end to the birth-death cycle and liberates souls from bondage is japa. Within the performance of japa, there are several classifications. Does anybody have a comment or anything that you want to share before I continue? Because I think it's pretty amazing. All right. Vashika japa. Here one repeats the mantra out loud. The vibration of this kind of chanting or japa are very beneficial to the physical body. If you close your mouth and you have, I'm not being funny when I say that, and you have all your, you have your molars, okay? Because many people have had their molars removed. I haven't. When you actually, I have all my teeth. So when you actually close your mouth and om, it vibrates into the third eye. It actually shakes any sort of calcifications, breath work, pranayama, and then the sound, and then closing your mouth, and then opening your mouth at the right time, uttering it out, letting your tongue vibrate, your throat chakra vibrate. That will actually shake up any weird somatic pain you may have, believe it or not. It will shake things up, kind of like using your throat chakra like a trampoline, if you will. And the whole system in your body will actually start releasing subtly. But you'll actually feel better. You'll go, wow, I feel lighter. What happened? Yeah, because you've been doing this exercise of chanting. Disciplines focus on healing will find this approach very powerful. Basha japa, whispering or muttered sound. Dedicated practitioners of mantra can often be seen seemingly talking to themselves. They are really practicing upanshu japa. This practice helps the mantra go deeply inside. It's funny, my twin does a mantra, Hare Krishna, and he does it in about an hour and a half because without stopping for an hour and a half to 2.5 hours or 3 hours. The deeper one's practice penetrates, the more profound is the ultimate result. Yeah. Manasika japa. This is the repetition of mantra formulas that is entirely silent. If you're going shopping in a supermarket but still want to continue your work with mantra, this is a highly recommended method. You will not draw those perplexed stares and people will stop avoiding you, believing that you are deranged. I tell all my clients to chant at the stoplight. The monkey mind's going crazy while you're doing, while you're shopping. Just keep saying whatever. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Shri Mriam Kleem. If you're having some challenges with abundance, financial abundance, Om Shri Mriam Kleem Lakshmi Swaha. Om Shri Mriam Kleem Lakshmi Swaha in your head. The language used to describe these mantras practices is Sanskrit. In some texts, Sanskrit has been called Deva Linga, or language of the gods. Others have called Sanskrit the mother of tongues. Latin and Greek and all European languages borrow heavily from Sanskrit. For example, Mata is mother and Pitra is father. It's pretty interesting because, again, I keep saying this to you, but NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory considers Sanskrit a mathematical language and uses it to code AI and their massive computers. In England, some schools teach children as their second language Sanskrit. Pretty amazing. Mantra. Okay, so let's go right into the mantra, okay? All of the above division of japa can be applied to the study and practice of mantra. Mantra is a word that has taken root in the lexicon of ordinary English conversation. Any phrase that is spoken several times has become a mantra in colloquial speech. We all have seen examples of this on the evening news, but I will apply the classically correct definition of the words. Mantra is a Sanskrit word that describes a spiritual formula. This formula is exact and has been tested by the ancient rishis, sages of old India. Mantra formulas in specific ways, bringing energy and consciousness into the spine, the Shushunama, and to the chakras located along the spine for a specific purpose, producing a special effect. Since human physiology, both physical and subtle, is the same in all people, the effects of each specific mantra is well known among the adepts who have used and in some cases discovered them. Physicians are able to diagnose and treat our problems because of our physical bodies are nearly the same. They contain the same organs that operate in the same way and have the same fluids that act in the same way. Similarly, our spiritual physiology is the same. Because of this, the ancients were able to know in advance which mantra formula would produce what effect. Mantra effects are so powerful that the science of mantra was intentionally hidden for thousands of years. Only in the last 150 years have mantra formulas started to be released throughout the world. Why now? Thank you, Brian. Truth, love, justice, faith. The answer is that more and more advanced students of the old masters have been born here in the West. Did you hear this? Please listen. Get your ears on. Listen to this. Why now? So these mantras have been hidden, right? Listen to this. The answer is that more and more advanced students of the old masters have been born here in the West in the last 50 or so years, and more have been coming here and are taking births today. Hello. So many of us have had past lives in Tibet, and I don't know if you guys know that Tibet was a peaceful, they used to be a warring race. I don't know if you know that. And then they found Buddha, and they became a very peaceful people. Okay, if you've ever, for an hour studied Tibet for a second, you'll just see pictures. They would have huge boulders with prayers, Sanskrit prayers written. They would have prayer flags everywhere, aimlessly all over their countryside. In other words, many of us have come back to the West to rediscover our wisdoms that we left behind, and to bring to the Western mind. I remember I was in a temple, and this wonderful woman, beautiful European woman, white hair, blue eyes, a whole bit. She goes, "We don't have enough people from India." And goes, "We are from India." She looked at me and went, "Oh yeah, meaning we're back. We've incarnated." So anyway, one can only assume that this is because one or more global crises that we are moving towards. The future of humanity is safeguarded, but that does not mean that we will not have problems that we must navigate. But that, as they say, is a subject for another time. Remember, he wrote this in 2006. He never lived to see what happened during the lockdown. Please take to heart, I believe there is a great variety of ways to access that knowledge within. I do not presume to say that Sanskrit or mantras represent the only or exclusive way of arriving at the grand human destiny. There are words that make me crazy. Those are words: highest, fastest, best, ultimately. There is that which is the highest, faster, or best for you. It might not be the fastest or highest or best for your neighbor. When organizations or teachers announce that they have the highest, fastest, or best means for spiritual attainment, I roll my eyes. True messiahs are in much shorter supply than many organizations would have you believe. Competition among true spiritual teachers does not exist. Sadhguru Sant Keshavadass used to say with a twinkle in his eye, if Moses, Jesus, Krishna, and the Buddha got together, they would have a wonderful cup of tea with loving discourse among them. Outside, their followers would be trying to pluck out each other's eyes, arguing over who is the greatest. This was never the message of these great ones whom we follow. Sanskrit mantras are the way that was taught to me, in which I have practiced intensely since 1973. I've had enough personal success with mantra methods that I can recommend and teach them. I make no other universal claim. And this is why I love this man. All right, on to the next. Any questions so far? It is pretty amazing, isn't it? He was something else, this guy. I'm sure he was a rishi. There's no way. He was definitely he came back to right the wrongs and to bring the knowledge back to people like us. Okay, so I'm going to read about Sanskrit reincarnation. And you know what? He's got karma. Fuck it, let's read it all. All right, let's go. Ready? Sanskrit. Mantras work directly in the chakras because there is an ironclad relationship between the sacred language, Sanskrit, chakras, and mantras. There are 50 letters in the Sanskrit alphabet, although some scholars have included diphthongs, combination of two or more letters in a logical pronunciation scheme. In the alphabet and arrived at 50 to 54 letters. Oh my God, I love that 54 letters, which is the number 9, which is God's perfect master number. Most of the ancient text uses 50 as the number of letters. Each solitary vibration of each letter is said to be represented by or tuned to a petal on one of the chakras. If you add up all the petals or spokes on the 6 major chakras located along the spine or Sushumna, you arrive at a total of 50. The same numbers of letters as in the Sanskrit alphabet. This is no accident. Each petal vibrates in resonance with one of the petals on one of the chakras. If you study the Shiva Sutras or the Lakshmi Tantra, you will come across a chapter that explains in detail the great Matrika, mother. The Matrika is described in both texts as she who binds and she who sets free. The Matrika is revealed in both texts as the Sanskrit alphabet, the building blocks of all creation. The Matrika contains all the vibrations of the universe, physical as well as subtle. More on this in chapter 24. She is literally the mother of creation, and all of her powers and vibrations exist in each of us as the petals of the chakras. Suddenly the words of ancient mystical texts become more clear. Man is the microcosm of the macrocosm. The kingdom of heaven is within, as above so below, and others. Within us is a summary of everything. Granted that is encoded. Granted that to access it will take great effort. Fortunately, some of us among us have received enlightened instructions and have made it available to the rest of us through both the oral tradition of the enlightened ones and the sacred texts that have been translated for our use. Reincarnation. The idea of past and future lives is a fundamental assumption in the discussion and methods contained in this book. The idea runs the gamut from controversy to loopy, but for me, there was an accident in 1975 that moved it from the theory column to the actual column. As a temple priest in Washington, D.C., one of my responsibilities was to hold public meditations. They were scheduled for Wednesday and Saturday evenings. On most Saturday evenings, no one would attend, which was just fine with me. With most residents out of the house and no one present for the public meditation, I would have some of my deepest personal meditations. On one particular Saturday, I had been sitting in meditation for about a half an hour, and I was way, way, way out there, or in there, as in the case may be. In this state, somewhere, I heard the doorbell ring. It rang once, it rang twice, and then somewhere in me, it registered that everyone was gone, and I was the only person left in the temple. At the time, I was dressed in dhoti and shirt. A dhoti is a wraparound piece of material like a sarong. I wore the white sheer cloth around my waist and covered my top with a long Indian shirt called a kurta. It is cool and comfortable. As the realization of the doorbell and empty house percolated through to wherever I was, I concluded I would have to arise to answer it. So I reached for my sword to steady myself as I got up. But as I started to rise, I discovered that my sword was missing, and I went into a momentary panic. A samurai is never without his sword. A samurai sleeps with his sword. A samurai eats with his sword. A samurai has his sword by his side in meditation and all other times. A part of him is in constant readiness. Again, a samurai is never ever without his sword. I knew I had not set my sword down anywhere, and yet my hand slipped over to my left side where the grip always was and encountered thin air. The motions of arising with a sword are so automatic that one does not even think about it. It's like driving a car, you just do it. When you arise with a sword, there's a fluid motion where one hand grabs the handle momentarily as you rise. When you are on your feet, the hand comes away and you are mobile. I had done it 100,000 times in exactly the same way. My sword was not on the accustomed left side of my waist where it always was. Imagine getting in a car, entering the freeway, reaching 65 miles per hour, and then needing to suddenly stop. But when your foot goes over to find the brake pedal, it isn't there. You panic. It's not possible that there's no brake pedal. There's always a brake pedal. Yet clearly it was not there. How can that be? This is how I felt. I was already halfway to my feet, and my eyes opened as I glanced down at the floor to see, is it possible I had fallen out of somewhere? By the time I was standing erect, I realized I was not in Japan. I was not a samurai. The hairs on my arms and the back of my neck stood on end. I understood that in the depth of my meditation, I had been in contact with another lifetime, and I was coming out of it. I confused that life just for a second with this lifetime. It was very difficult for me to adequately describe the intensity of the feeling, but the net result of the experience was that the idea of reincarnation went from theory to fact in a flash. For the briefest of time, I had been in that life. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a vision. I have called it a past life bleed through. I was a samurai. I knew how I had meditated as a samurai. I knew what my sword looked like, long and slightly curved with a white handle. For you movie buffs, this experience was in 1978, long before the film Highlander came out, but my sword looked very much like the one Sean Connery had and eventually gave to McLeod. And I wore it on the left side of my sarong-like garb. I knew what kind of case I was in. I could see everything. Many things about that life were quite similar to what I was currently doing in this life, except I was not in that life, I was in this one. I answered the door. The person was at the wrong house. But I had been given a gift through this accident. That experience was a turning point for me. I knew beyond any doubt that reincarnation was factual. The next step from that understanding was the realization of the power of our karma accumulated over the years. Karma. All of us have problems of one kind or another, and mantra practices can be a great aid to softening or even eliminating some problems. One of the most common problems is the presence of an obstacle to much needed abundance. But the curious thing is that the amount of work needed to make the problem go away varies widely from one person to another. Some people can work 40 days and their ship comes in, so to speak. Others can work for months and make only a little progress. The reason for the difference in length of time to achieve results is karma. Everything in life is karma. Everything, your mate or significant other, your health issues, your employment and job status, your relative, inner happiness or discontent, everything. Classical scriptures from India divide karma into 4 types. Sanchita karma. This is the total sum of all your karma, all of the conscious workings of your mind, the subconscious tendencies, your emotional predisposition, and mental acuity, all accumulated from all of your previous lifetimes are covered by this all-inclusive Sanskrit term. It is also encompasses all your past actions, both good and bad, the results of which will be worked out in one lifetime or another. prarabha karma. This karma that you have chosen to work off in this lifetime is called parada karma. It includes the position of the planets at the time of your birth. But as we all know, okay, this is fascinating. It includes the position of the planets at the time of your birth. This is why I do life path readings. Because in the life path readings, I see a lot of the karma, good or bad, or the challenges. But as we all know, two people born at the same time and place will have different kinds of lives. So while it is true that the planets are very powerful influences on our karmic predicament, other facets of our karma are always in play. And even though that's true, there are numbers also in the name. The numerology in the name will shift your karma, believe it or not, because the vibration could be different. It could be attractive or a repulsive energy. So that's why names, what you name your kid, you better do the numerology on it before you make a decision. Agami karma. The term covers immediate effects from present actions. You cause someone by shouting from your car, and chances are they will shout back. This is called agami karma in action. Kriyu amana karma. This kind of karma describes your present willful actions that will influence future karmic return. It is with a nod to Kriya Anama karma that we find religious proscriptions for behavior, from the 10 Commandments to the Golden Rule to the Yamas and the Niyamas in Hinduism, which are the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule lumped together in a Hindu version of the same proscriptions, to the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. All these seek to improve the quality of future karmic returns of previous action and thought. These practices and proscriptions are a future karma improvement kit. Shakti. In the East, the notion of Shakti is taught as the feminine power of nature. This applies to any power you can name: thought, movement of your body, movement of the planets. Since the entire universe is said to be found within, then the source of all power must also be found within. It is in the form of the Kundalini Shakti located at the base of the spine. Since we do not have infinite capacity to hold and process power, the conscious Kundalini only releases that amount of power that we can safely handle. Mantra is a form of Kundalini Shakti. Mantra is an aspect of Kundalini, and it is in sound form. So mantra is actually Kundalini in mantra form. Did you guys hear that? I hear people going, I got my Kundalini awakened. Did you hear what he said? That they will, Kundalini awakening comes at certain shots. It's spoon fed out. Because a true Kundalini awakening to a person who's not ready can drive them insane. So the best form of Kundalini awakening, okay, which I've always known, I don't know, I read this years ago when I was a kid, is you've got to be careful. You got to spoon feed yourself that stuff. You got to know you're ready. You got to be honest and not arrogant about your readiness. You know what I mean? And finally, spiritual toolkit. Mantra then becomes a means of working with the spiritual energy that is all around us all the time, as we harness that energy through mantra practices, japa. We can fulfill desires, create good karma, and begin to neutralize bad karma. I kid you not, he's actually, I've been following this man for like decades, and I've used his mantras, and they work. We can start a process of deep healing that may even resolve a mountain of unpleasant karma accumulated over many lives. Using all these spiritual practices, we move steadily towards the next step in our spiritual evolution. I'm going to tell you a quick story of a mantra that I learned from him. It's called, and I talk about it all the time. You guys are probably bored with it, but it's a powerful mantra. It's called the Shivaya mantra, which is Om Namah Shivaya, right? Okay, so I was trying to buy a house, and I was told no all over the place. And I was so and then I was told yes and then no the last minute. So that was a really big disappointment. I was actually pissed. And during the whole day, I just chanted Om Namah Shivaya. And then finally, I chanted all day into the night, woke up in the morning, kept chanting Om Namah Shivaya, and I had a light bulb moment. And I went through my text of all the mortgage people that had been contacting me, and I picked this young man, called him, and within 12 hours I was approved, and it was a solid approval. I'm not kidding. Had I just stayed in the conscious of defeatism, I would have never been able to do that. But because I was chanting the Om Namah Shivaya, which is known as a destruction of blockages, I was cleared a path so that I could wake up with a clear mind. I kept chanting. I was guided, look through your text, just go all the way back to last year. And boom, I found the young man's number, called him, and within 12 hours, I was approved. I'm not kidding. So what I'm going to say to you is this stuff works. It works, and it works, and it works. And people don't do this because, it doesn't. People aren't stupid with their time. Most people are very protective of this time. So I'm going to go into let's go into chapter 2. And then if you want, we'll do an oracle reading, okay? And that'll be my last thing, because I've done like 3 lives today, and I really wanted to share this with you guys. All right, let's begin. Conscious evolution. Hinduism and Buddhism, which have a common root, present a strikingly similar view of the evolution of being and consciousness into the physical form of the universe, although they use different methods, images, and intellectual construct. According to both Hindu and Buddhist beliefs, we were created first in non-physical realms. Long before this physical universe, our home, appeared, our consciousness descended from the purely spiritual space it occupied into mental realm, where mind could exist. Powerful spiritual ideas coalesced into understandable concepts of what creation looked like, and it ultimately materialized into the physical universe. I did a past life regression with a client who was in the 14th dimension, who he just described that, and I'm shocked that this is being described, because she was in the non-physical form, fully aware before there was a physical reality. And she went through the evolutions of her becoming more and more physical. Anyway, we descended to the physical plane to learn, grow, and evolve as physical entities, and then finally to return to the non-physical existence from which we first appeared. By the time we return, however, we will have accumulated much knowledge about physical creation, about the joys and cares of living in physical bodies, about choice and consequence, about illness and recovery from physical as well as mental and emotional difficulties. Although we will have triumphantly returned to that exalted state from which we came, we will be changed through our experiences, and we will have become something more. In some ways, that is difficult to define. In the West, we speak of the soul as the essence of each person. In the East, the same essence is most often expressed as the Atman. With some variation, Buddhists often refer to our real nature as something akin to cosmic mind. However, the origin of our souls, or the Buddhists often refer to our real nature as something akin to cosmic mind. However, the origin of our souls, or the genesis of the Atman or cosmic mind, is not an easy to track down. One must rely upon the myths and stories of India, where the beginning of the universes and all of its inhabitants are presented in easy to grasp stories and fables. Modern physics and creation. The monoblock theory of the creation of the universe, widely held in modern physics, holds that originality of the matter in the known universe was compacted into a single mass at one location. The force generated by such a great mass, concentrated in one place, produced an explosion of great magnitude called the Big Bang. It scattered matter in all directions at a velocity close to the speed of light, producing the universe as we know it. As matter began to cool and coalesce, suns and planets and galaxies were formed, and the universe as we know it came into being. According to our current understanding of the law of physics, there will come a time far in the future when that original impetus generated by the explosion of the monoblock will slow and finally come to an end. Matter will have slowed its headlong flight and eventually halt. This running down and dispersal of all matter and energy in the universe, what science calls entropy, will also cause suns to expand in their dying gasp and consume the planets, even as a black hole increases their size and engulfs stars and whole galaxies. Essentially, the universe will come to an end like a wound-up clock exhausted its spring. You may have noticed something is missing from this theory. Since science tells us that something cannot come from nothing, where did the monoblock come? The common answer from physicists and chemists is we don't know. Some scientists do attempt explanation through the use of what has come to be known as string theory. That postulates the existence of multiple universes, but there still has been no definitive explanation of where that monoblock came from. The venerable spiritual texts and teachings from the Vedic traditions do offer an explanation through the same stories and fables that explain the origin of the soul as Atman we carry. The legend of Narayana explains the creation of the universe and mankind as it had been passed down through the scriptures and stories for countless generations in India. When the journey of the soul, or Atman, comes to an end with all its attended accomplishment, it will most assuredly have been worth it. We each will have reached a new phase of divinity and immortality that grew seemingly unexpected from that original impetus. Descended from the very highest level of the created universe, where consciousness and power are one, into successive denser and denser states of existences, the soul has followed the original impetus of being called Narayana. Excuse me. The story of Narayana is discussed in more details in chapter 6. It then began a quest via a journey of evolutions, learned about materiality. The initial part of the journey finally comes to an end at the base of our spine. Here, our individual evolution now commences with all experiences, choices, and consequences. Excuse me, I have to get some water. Let me start that line again. Hang on for a quick second because my throat started drying up. Interesting. It then began a quest via a journey of involution to learn about materiality. The initial part of the journey finally comes to an end at the base of our spine. Here, our individual evolutions now commences with all of our experiences, choices, consequences, and distractions towards that state which we left so long ago. Our wondrous soul also contains the essence of compassion. Since the evolving consciousness will experience both pain and enjoyment while occupying a physical form, the soul, Atman, empowers that consciousness with two gifts. The first is free will or choice. Exercising this gift, individual consciousness may embrace, evade, or put off until another time specific experience to be encountered and lessons to be learned. It may also select some particular path from among many options back to union with Narayana. The second gift is a device that allows the individual consciousness to operate in the relative world of materiality, called the ahamkara in Sanskrit. It is the ego that can choose how and whether to grow or evolve while in the physical universe. The lowly ego is often offered the priceless gift of becoming divine should it choose to consciously evolve. Through spiritual growth, the human ego can attain immortality by joining with the Atman to become something new it could never have been anticipated. The ancient Indian mechanism for the ego to accomplish this journey is called Ganesha or Ganapati in the Hindu faith. The Ganesha Ganapati chakra, operating as a phantom chakra, has its permanent residence in the first of the 6 chakra located at the bottom of the spine. These centers represent a hidden map for our common journey back up the spine to that divinity from which we have come. Did you hear that? The bottom chakra, the root chakra. But how did we come to have such an opportunity? How did the chakra system come about? The answer may astound you and challenge your credulity. This is amazing because I've actually had clients from the East. I have clients from the East, And I've had other clients throughout the world, you know, the Western world, and they will focus on their top chakras, which is a massive problem. Massive problem. If you're going to get anywhere, you need to work on all your chakras. Always. And yet, if you feel your solar plexus or your heart chakra or your root chakra or any chakras, your throat chakra is blocked, right? Then you spend more time on it, but you don't spend a whole week just working on your throat chakra. You will never be in balance. It doesn't work that way. It's like building a house, and you're just pouring the foundation on the left side. Your foundation has to be solid. It has to be completely balanced. So it's important that you always start from root to crown or from crown to root. And whatever feels gunky or needs more work, then you spend like, maybe if you want, you spend like 3-4 minutes or even 5 minutes on that chakra. And then once you see it's cleared, then you continue your progression. You go up or down the ladder, however you've started. Any questions or comments? I didn't really want to share, invite any guests on that, because that wasn't the point. I'm reading the book. So there's nothing really. I admire this guy so much. Any questions or anything at all? Any comments? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read from. We're going to go for, because this is so esoteric, we're going to keep it there. Gateway of Light Activation. We're going to pull out an oracle from that particular deck from Kyle Gray, who's pretty cool. And so when you're ready, give your angels, guides, and allies permission to, guide you. And then thank you for sharing the live. And then pick from the top, bottom, and middle. Let's go right into it. Bottom or top, bottom, and middle. When you're ready. Ready? So I will be uploading this video as well because, I love this guy. Top. Okay. I want to get a consensus. Top, bottom, or middle. You got more opportunities. Top, bottom, or middle. Anyone else? Hey, Genevieve. Okay, I'm going to go with top. Halls of Amanti initiation. Secrets revealed. Treasures uncovered. Initiation. Okay, good. I'm glad, Ellen. How are you? Okay, halls of Amenti initiation, secrets revealed, treasures uncovered, initiation. So I'm going to read it to you. Hang on. Let me look this up real quick. This is weird because they don't. You would think they would have it like alphabetical, since there's no. So bizarre. How did he do this? What is this card? Bear with me. This is so weird. Where the hell is this card? You know what? This is crazy. Is this for real? Oh, hello. Okay. I am tired. Okay, it's page 79. Page 79. So, here we go. Okay, halls of learning. The halls of learning, also sometimes known as the Great Halls, are an etheric retreat dedicated to spiritual knowledge. They're a training space for all souls, including those on earth, spiritual guides, and those in between lives. They have been visited by many spiritual seekers, seers, and mediums over the years, and have been described as a giant, somewhat Gothic university building with marble flooring, spiral staircase, and tall bookcases. Some have said these halls are the home to the Akashic Library, while others have wondered if they are connected to the halls of Amenti. I can confirm that these are usually two different retreats. Ultimately, this etheric retreat is an ancient mystery school and is particularly powerful for those who are opening up their psychic and clairvoyant abilities. If this gateway comes to you, often it brings confirmation that your psychic gifts are strengthening. Also, if the idea of an ancient mystery school in the astral realm seems familiar, there's a good chance that you've been there during dream time or even in between incarnations. These great halls are held within the heart of Source and are a projection of the divine mind's infinite intelligence. When we visit them, we are connecting directly to the wisdom of Source. Connect. Think about a challenge time or lesson you are facing, and say, Source and wisdom keepers of the halls of learning, thank you for revealing to me the pattern, trauma, or wound that has created this lesson so that I can heal it once and for all. Then listen carefully. Your message. You are on the path to great learning. Spiritual beings are drawing close to support you. If you are facing challenges or difficult circumstances or just moved through such time, you are being called to review what you have learned about yourself. If you're still feeling overwhelmed by a certain event or asking why it happened, call on Source and your guides to reveal to you the pattern, trauma, or wound that has contributed to this challenge. If you aren't experiencing challenging energy, the reason is that you've made huge progress on your spiritual journey, so much so that your perspective has shifted so that you can view every challenge as a window of opportunity. The halls of learning gateway indicate that your spiritual gifts are developing at this time. Thank you, love. Thank you for sharing the live. So that was pretty damn good. I love, there's certain oracle decks that I really, really adore. This was one of them. This is one of them. I really love him very much. He's got some great decks, but this is the one I bought from him. I am going to look at another deck, which is going to be a little different. And I never pulled this deck. It's from Alana Fairchild. It's Kuan Yin. But she did Kuan Yin as a Tibetan. So it's kind of interesting. I'm going to pull it out. And we're going to do another oracle reading. Okay? And because I think we need some messages. I think there's some messages that are being downloaded that we need to really look at. So this is from the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle. And you'll see a young woman, a Tibetan woman, flying in space with a yak. And so again, I want you to focus on what the message is for you. And I'm going to be shuffling. And when you guys are ready, top, middle, or bottom. Top, middle, or bottom. When you're ready. Top, middle, or bottom? Middle. Okay, anyone else? The majority wins usually. Bottom. Okay, we have to have a majority. Middle. Okay, I'm going with middle. Okay, middle. This is called, this is card 11. And there's a white yak with a woman, a young woman, like, it floating. It's really funny, irreverent little images, and it looks like Nepal or Tibet. So it's 11, the Princess of Red Poppies. The Princess of Red Poppies. Let's read what that is. All right, bear with me for a second. The Princess, and this is like the only negative is that the writing is tiny, the fonts. Okay, let's begin. I bring you the gifts of expanded perception, of being able to see the past, present, and future more clearly. As you see the highest truth, you will experience relief, peace, and inspiration. Allow me to help you leave the past behind you, find happiness in the now, and open up to the beautiful future ahead of you. Guidance. Though you may struggle to feel free from what has once been, be assured that any power the past has held over you is ending now. Whilst there may be memories that arise, fond or painful, the emotional charge that these hold for you is fading away. Soon enough, it will seem as though the suffering you once endured was akin to a bad dream, even if it moved you deeply at the time. You needed to grow through an experience, even if you don't understand all the detail as to why. Know that you didn't do anything wrong. With grace and trust, allow what has been to have been, and feel gratitude for the moment in which you find yourself now, trusting that everything serves you in its own way. It is your time to feel relief and peace. You are meant to be planting different seeds now, so a different reality can make itself known in your future. For this to happen, you must be freed from your attachment and fear of the past. You must accept a gift of release. This will help you do all that you are capable of now, fearlessly and lovingly. Inner reading. It is time to move on from the past as a new person. A new life is possible for you. It is not in some distant future. It has already begun or very soon will. Trust in your inner perception. Given you through dreams, intuition, symbols, or signs that just seems to speak to you at a deeper intuitive level. These are real, accurate, and a natural part of your own higher intelligence. You do not have to be afraid or resist your growing perceptive abilities. If you have been praying for insight, expanded intuition, or psychic awakening to understand or work with dreams for an ability to go and out of trances safely and with some degree of consciousness to be able to guide others in hypnosis or meditation, or for a safe opening of your inner sight or psychic visions, then your prayers are being answered. If you've had a helpful insight about your past, no matter how far-fetched or strange it may seem, this oracle brings confirmation to trust in that insight and allow it to help you move on. And likewise, to trust in any unconditionally loving vision of your future. Healing process. If you have any unfinished business with a person, place, or thing, you may like to begin this healing process by writing a letter that you will not send, but use as a chance to express any of all your feelings you have towards the person or situation of your past. Use the letter as a chance to honestly and safely express anything and everything you wish. It does not have to be a kind letter. It may well be an angry letter, or a letter filled with many mixed feelings. The letter is not to be sent to another, or even necessarily kept, but it will be destroyed unless you want to place it in your journal. So feel free to express yourself without censorship. There's no right or wrong here, just feelings. If you choose to write a letter, do so now, and when you have finished writing, say the following prayer below. If you prefer to skip the letter writing portion of this healing, simply move on to the prayer. I call upon Kuan Yin, who loves me unconditionally. Please protect me from slipping into unnecessary attachment to the past, reliving all wounds or experiences that no longer are helpful to me. Please help me see through the eye within my heart, to see truthfully and with love, to see in a way that helps me feel peace towards the past and inspiration for my future. Through my own free will and your divine grace, so be it. It's interesting because I can't tell you how many times clients are still haunted by the past to such levels that they're afraid to love again. They're afraid to even give their person, twin or high-level soulmate or whatever, a second or third chance because they are so knee-jerk now. They're so terrified that they're going to go through the pain again. But if you've gone through the massive first aspect of pain with a betrayal, an abandonment, or whatever, I can assure you that that initial dark night of the soul, if you've done the spiritual work, will never be as detrimental as that ever again. You can't revisit that kind of pain again. Not that kind of pain. Not a real dark night of the soul. It's not going to happen. You'll hurt. There's no doubt if they, mess up again. But it won't destroy you. It won't take you out. And you'll find that you can still move forward and thrive, even with disappointment. So my counsel to you is that whatever has harmed you in the past, a person, people, family, situations, jobs, environments that weren't right for you, whatever it is, you can't live your life looking at the rearview mirror. You got to look ahead. And you've got to realize that just because your early lives weren't filled with maybe true love or honest love or honest abundance doesn't mean that's going to be your reality for the rest of your life. And I think when you look at people who say, I can never find love, they basically use these statements, I can never find love, I can never find peace, that's just how my life is, I never win, I never get a break. These are mantras, by the way. Those are mantras. And they become self-actualized prophecies. So if you've ever read Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, she went through levels of... that woman went through hell, okay? And look at the empire she created, okay? So based on that, amen, right? I'm going to read to you something from... I'm going to read to you some stuff from her book, You Can Heal Your Life, right now. This oracle definitely inspired me to do that for you guys. So let's go ahead and do it. Okay, listen to this. This is so on point. The next exercise we do is to get a large sheet of paper and make a list of all the things your parents said were wrong with you. What were the negative messages you heard? Give yourself enough time to remember as many as you can. Half hour usually works well. What did they say about money? What did they say about your body? What did they say about love and relationships? What did they say about your creative talents? What were the limited or negative things they said to you? If you can't, just look objectively at these items and say to yourself, so that's where that belief came from. Wow. Now let's take a sheet of paper and dig a little deeper. What other negative messages did you hear of the child? From relatives, from teachers, from friends, from authority figures, from churches, temples. Write them all down. Take your time. Be aware of what feelings are going on in your body. What you have on these two pieces of paper are the thoughts that need to be removed from your consciousness. These are the very beliefs you have had that are making you feel not good enough. Did you get that? Seeing yourself as a child. If you were to take a 3-year-old child and put him or her in the middle of the room, and you and I were to start yelling at the child, telling him how stupid he was, how he would never do anything right now, how he could do this, should do that, shouldn't do that, and look at the mess he made, and maybe hit him a few times, we would end up with a frightened child who sits docilely in the corner or who tears up the place. The child will go one of these two ways, but we will never know the potential of that child. If we take the same little child and tell him how much we love him, how much we care, what we love the way he looks and how bright he is and clever he is, and that we love the way he does things, and that it's okay for him to make mistakes as he learns, and that we will always be there for him no matter what, then the potential that comes out of that child will blow your mind. Each one of us has a 3-year-old child within us, and we often spend most of our time yelling at that kid in ourselves. Then we wonder why our lives don't work. If you had a friend who was always criticizing you, would you want to be around that person? Perhaps you were treated this way as a child, and that is sad. However, that was a long time ago, and if you are still now choosing to treat yourself in the same way then, it's sadder still. So now, here in front of us, we have a list of the negative messages we heard as a child. How does this list correspond with what you believe to be wrong with you? Are they almost the same? Probably yes. We base our life script on early messages. We are all good little children and obediently accept that they tell us the truth. It would be very easy just to blame our parents and be victims for the rest of our lives, but that wouldn't be too much fun, and it certainly would get us out of our stuck position. When you blend this acknowledgement of trauma, right? Because, the way people raise their children. In fact, there was a pediatrician in the, in 19th century who was telling people in Europe that you should never hug your child. A good pat in the back would be enough. Maybe a shake of the hand. Can you imagine? One pediatrician was able to change multiple generations of families across Europe. I forgot his name. Okay, I don't remember his name. Who actually told parents that it was not good for them to hug their kids. Okay? And people thought they were doing the right thing. Okay? Blaming your family. Blame is one of the serious ways to stay in a problem. In blaming another, we give away our power. Understanding enables us to rise above the issue and take control of our future. The past cannot be changed. The future is shaped by our current thinking. It is imperative for our freedom to understand that our parents were doing the very best they could with the understanding, awareness, and knowledge they had. Whenever we blame someone else, we are not taking responsibility for ourselves. I know of a grown man who's my age, who's still blaming everyone for his failure. Everyone. And he's accomplished nothing in his life. When he drops his body, he's going, and once he looks at what he could have accomplished, had he not done that, he's going to feel I don't know what it's going to do to them as a soul, but I can tell you that it's not going to be good. Those people who did all these terrible things to us were just as frightened and scared as you are. They felt just the same helplessness as you do. The only thing is they could possibly teach you are what they had been taught. That's what makes you guys magnificent, because you're breaking away from those chains. How much do you know about your parents' childhood, especially before the age of 10? If it's still possible for you to find out, ask them. If you're able to find out about your parents' childhood, you will more easily understand why they did what they did. Understanding will bring your compassion. If you don't know and can't find out, try to imagine what it must have been like for them. What kind of childhood would create an adult like that? One of the things I do in my hypnotherapy session is that we go back into the womb. What did your mom feel when you were pregnant? Is the question in hypnotherapy. What did your dad feel? And believe it or not, people actually tap into some energy of being in their mom's womb, remember how she felt, picking up on the energy pretty accurately, and how daddy felt. And it's important. You need this knowledge for your own freedom. You can't free yourself until you free them. You can't forgive until you forgive them. If you demand perfection from them, you will demand perfection from yourself, and you will be miserable the rest of your life. Choosing our parents. I agree with the theory that we choose our parents. I don't just agree with, I actually remember choosing my parents. That was one of my first memories of lives between lives on my own. At the age of 3, I remember choosing my parents. So it's a fact. We choose our parents. I believe we're all on an endless journey through eternity. We come on this planet to learn particular lessons that are necessary for our own spiritual evolution. We choose our sex, our color, our country, and then we look around for the perfect set of parents who will mirror our patterns. Our visits to this planet are like going to school. If you want to become a beautician, you go to beauty school. If you want to become a mechanic, you go to mechanic school. If you want to become a lawyer, you go to law school. The parents you pick this time around are the perfect couple who are experts in what you have chosen to learn. When we grow up, we have a tendency to point our fingers accusingly at our parents and say, "You did it to me," but I believe we chose them. Any questions? But I survived. Yeah. Yes, we did. Any questions on that or any comments? Okay. So many people, unfortunately, have gone through the trauma of being bullied, of not being picked, of not being enough, and a lot of people have gone through that in various ways. So sometimes you've got the golden child or the scapegoat or the black sheep, but the scapegoat. The scapegoat is very painful in its own right, very, very painful. And the golden child has perfection is demanded. Some people were actually also the golden child and the scapegoat, which is really fucked up. So it's kind of interesting. You want to look into that with yourself. Holistic philosophy. I'm trying to find something else to read to. She's amazing. I adored her. She was like one of the most amazing people. She was very adamant about ignoring I think she had broken her finger or something like that, and she totally ignored it, and it healed itself. I'm not kidding. She was like, she wouldn't even say to anyone that she had broken her finger or something like that. It was something interesting. Listen to this. In the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. I support myself, and life supports me. I see evidence of the law working all around me and in every area of my life. I reinforce that which I learn in joyous ways. My day begins with gratitude and joy. I look forward with enthusiasm to the adventures of the day, knowing that in my life all is good. I love who I am and all that I do. I am living, loving, joyous expression of life. All is well in my world. She was amazing. Controlling the mind. So we just talked about controlling the mind from one of the masters, which was Thomas Ashley with the chakra. So number 1, go ahead and do your mantras. Number 2, meditate every day. Number 3, do your chakras. And all of that can be done all at once during your meditation practice. And it's really a lot of fun. Ultimately, you'll become addicted to it. And you will not be, if you miss a day, I can guarantee you won't miss 3. I had a client once who came to me and she said, my life's been shit and everything's shit. And I'm like, I understand. Are you working on your chakras? No. Are you doing your, no, I'm not doing my mantras. When was the last time you meditated? Months ago. Months ago, I said. Well, no wonder you crashed. So, so she went back to the practice and everything was fine again. All right, this is going to be my last oracle reading. This one's from the Starseed Oracle deck by Daniel Noel and Rebecca Campbell. It's a pretty damn amazing deck. Daniel Noel doesn't get enough credit. Rebecca Campbell gets a lot of credit. And to be honest with you, I bought the deck because, but Daniel Noel, the artist who does these digital arts that are so dreamlike, that it feels like home actually, doesn't get enough kudos, which I don't understand. I just don't understand why she doesn't. It's so weird to me. But anyway, mother resented my father while pregnant with me, and still to this day, they have a toxic relationship. Yeah, so now you have to ask yourself why, what there are more to that story, obviously. That's just like the big, bold brushstrokes of that toxicity. You have to ask yourself, what were the inner workings of that toxicity and the resentment? Why did she resent him? Which you probably know why. And why would you choose those parents? How will you benefit? It could have also been that you chose those parents to actually help your mom or your dad or both your parents to come out of it. You know what I mean? Maybe you were like coming in as a mentor, as a teacher, believe it or not. When you're ready, pick a top, bottom, or middle when you're ready. And let's do the final, and we'll go from there. Okay? Starseed Oracle deck. When you're ready. Top, bottom, or middle. All right, cool. Top. Okay, cool. I'm going with top. Jump in. Oh my God, jump in. Andromedan energy, adventure, say yes to change. All right, so let me look this up. That is crazy. I love that. Hang on. Jump in. Give me a second till, okay, so that's page 82, which is 10. Jump in. Andromedan energy, adventure, say yes to change. 82. All right, let's read it. And then I'm going to finally go to bed. All right, Andromeda is a spiral galaxy, the closest galaxy to the Milky Way. It's believed that Andromedan starseeds are a group of beings who love their freedom, very adaptable. They have a strong willingness and ability to change and go with the flow, to find calm in the chaos, to swim with the tide. This card is here to encourage you to do the same. Perhaps you have a significant goal or opportunity ahead of you. If so, you're being guided to jump in. Don't wait for permission. Don't stall until you feel ready. Take a deep breath, a good old run up, and jump right in. Life bends from the courageous, and courageous is what you're being called to be. You're also facing the right direction. The only thing left to do is leap. You'll figure out the details as you go along. Things may not always be smooth sailing. Life on earth rarely is. However, it's the rougher seas that teach us how to sail with glory. And once you know that, you can navigate any sea, ocean, or storm. The Andromedans want you to fall in love with surfing the waves of life, to seek more adventures, to embrace your own adaptability, and find a way to be the calm in the chaos. You didn't come to Earth to be passive. You came to Earth to truly live. Now take a good run and leap. Wow. It's funny, too, because when my life started changing incredibly powerfully, one of the mantras I had come up with was, I jump into space and I always land on my feet. I jump into space and I always land on my feet. I always win. And again, like I've said before, did I always win? No. But you know what? I started winning 80 to 90% of the time. That's a hell of a good number. Because I would leap. The minute I was afraid of something, I knew I had to do it. It didn't matter if it was public speaking, traveling to another country, living in a foreign environment, meeting, doing things that I didn't feel comfortable, I would do it. And that's when your life starts changing. So yeah, that's a hell of a good advice, leaping into space. Any questions before I go? I'm glad this resonated. That was great. Are you able to read for that? What are the prices? When I read a basic, what I call a foundational reading, Alex, it's $108 for an hour. It includes the life path numbers, oracle reading, and tarot reading. And if you want to do an Akashic reading, then I'm going to give you my website so you can go check it out. You can check out and you can fill out an intake form, and then I will get back to you. You may want to do a screenshot of that, by the way. The Akashic reading is $162, and I do a 20-minute meditation before, and I read for you, and I will get downloads of past lives. And I did one actually yesterday for a client, and it was fascinating. And again, you get the Akashic reading, the downloads. They always give me totem animals, spirit animals, every single. I don't know why, but they always do. And well, I do know why. The animals have a lot of messages for the client. We do the life path reading, and then we go right into the tarot, psychic reading, clairvoyant, clairaudient stuff. And once I meditate for a client, like that 20 minutes before the call, it sets up where the downloads continue massively during the reading with a client. So that's that. For hypnotherapy, past life regression, it's $225. It's 2 hours. It's done through Zoom, and I have a protocol. In fact, I did a live today on that, and you may want to check it out. I'm glad I came to your page. Thank you. Well, that's so cool. So I hope, Alex, you got that. Any other questions? Any other comments or questions? I will not contact you, Alex. Be careful because I do have scammers that will actually contact you. All of you who are following me, you might have somebody that looks like it's my page. It's not. If it doesn't have 21,000.7 followers, that isn't me. And I'm never going to contact you. And I very rarely follow my clients or people who follow me. And I do it because, if you follow me and you ask me to follow you, I'll follow you. There's no problem with that. There's none. But I won't follow you just willy-nilly, okay? That's not going to happen. And I'm definitely not going to hit you up for a reading. So be careful, okay, Alex? Don't be scammed. So if you want a reading, go on my tonybarca.com page, fill out an intake form. If you're outside the country, make sure you leave your WhatsApp number, and I will call you before booking. I could do a calandria. I could totally have you pay me and book before we ever talk, but I don't like doing that. I actually like to talk to you for like 5 to 10 minutes just to get the lay of the land, to see your intention and how I can assist. And then we book on the phone together. We figure out the time difference, all that, and that's it, okay? So I always talk to my clients before I book, just so you know. I want to make sure it's a fit for you as well, okay? All right, any other questions? And thank you for asking that question. Any other questions? So I will upload this video, this live. Good night for now. Oh, good night for now. Yes, definitely good night, because I'm really tired. It's been a long day. But go on YouTube, Sacred Intimacy Tarot, and you will see all of the lives I did today. I will try to upload this one tonight, but if I can, I'll be early tomorrow morning, and you'll be able to check it out. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you all. I hope you have a wonderful day. For some of you, it's probably morning, right? And so enjoy your day. Happy Easter if you celebrate it. And much love to all of you. Namaste. Be well. Thank you. You too.